Nobody in the NFL was ready for how fast the Seattle Seahawks would flip the page after lifting the Lombardi. While the confetti was still stuck to the turf and fans were replaying every snap of that title run, the front office was already treating the parade like old news. This does not look like a team that stumbled into a lucky season. It looks like a group that truly believes the window just opened and that the rest of the league is already chasing them. If this is how they act, right after a championship, what happens when the offseason really starts to heat up? You can feel that edge when you look at the core that is coming back. The offense that exploded late in the year is still built around Sam Darnold, the quarterback who finally found a system that lets him stay calm and dangerous at the same time. The ground game is still powered by a punishing back like Kenneth Walker, with help behind him, and the passing game still has explosive weapons who know this scheme by heart. On the other side, a defense led by a sharp mind in Mike Macdonald, with playmakers like Devin Witherspoon and Rick Woolen, is not acting like a group that just crossed something off a checklist. They are moving like a unit that wants to become the standard of the conference, not just the surprise story of one special year. But here's the twist that almost nobody outside Seattle is really talking about yet. The first signs of how serious this team is about a repeat are not loud splashes or wild trade rumors. They start in the small print. Quiet futures deals, depth moves, and coaching hires that look simple on the surface but carry real weight once you connect them to what this staff just built. When you see how quickly the Seahawks started locking in those futures contracts and stacking competition for camp, you start to see the outline of a bigger plan forming in the background. And the more you look at those names, the clearer it becomes that these early moves might be the first step in building something even scarier than the team that just won it all. But before we get into that, hit that like and subscribe button for more Seahawks and all the NFL content. Can we get 250 likes on this video? On the surface, it looks boring. Just a tiny line across the news feed saying the Seattle Seahawks signed 15 players to futures contracts. No highlight reel, no big press conference. Nothing that screams, repeat champion. But that is exactly why it should worry the rest of the league. Champions that think the job is done chase attention. Champions that plan to stay on top quietly rebuild the bottom of the roster before anyone even finishes talking about the Super Bowl run. This is the part of the story that most people scroll past, even though it might be the first sign that Seattle is planning for something bigger than one magical season. Those futures deals are not flashy. They are basically invites to come fight for a place when camp opens, but inside that list, you can feel the strategy. Most names are practice squad types, players who know the system and give you clean reps, but then you see proven guys tucked in there for almost no cost. A back like Cam Akers, who has real snaps in big moments, and Jones Jr., Tolk, who bounced from USC to Tennessee, then threw stops with Chicago, Jacksonville, Carolina, and New Orleans before landing in Seattle. Suddenly shows up as depth you did not have to spend serious money on. You are not counting on them to carry the offense. You are using the fact that the league gave up on them a little too early, and now they get a fresh shot inside a championship culture without any pressure on the cap or the locker room. The shocking part is how calm the team is while doing all of this. There is no panic, no rush to overhaul the roster, just quiet stacking of competition at positions that get beat up over a long season, so that when injuries hit, you already have answers in the building. That is how real dynasties start, not with one monster headline, but with 15 small bets that slowly tilt the odds in your favor. And if this is how serious the Seahawks are about the last spots on the depth chart, the real question is, what happens when that same mindset gets applied to the coaching staff? Because there is one hire in particular that feels less like a normal assistant and more like a steal from the rest of the league. Few people outside Seattle understand how wild this move really is. Around the league, Zach Orr was in serious talks for defensive coordinator jobs, sitting in interviews with teams like the Chargers, hearing his name pushed as the next big voice to run an entire defense. Coaches do not usually walk away from that kind of path to take a title that sounds smaller on paper. Yet that is exactly the path that now points straight into the Seahawks building. When a coach with coordinator level buzz chooses an inside linebackers room over a full defense, that is not a quiet step. That is a clear signal about how he views the future in Seattle. Think about what that means on a daily level. Instead of calling plays for a whole unit somewhere else, Zach Orr will be in the meeting room, side by side with the inside linebackers, taking the details he built up in those coordinator interviews and pouring them into one position group. He knows what modern offenses are trying to hit between the tackles. He knows how coordinators think, and now he gets to shape the players who sit right in the heart of the defense. On game day, the camera will not show his name under a big title box, but the fingerprints will be there in the way those linebackers read keys, trigger on runs, and pass off routes in coverage. You do not usually get that level of mind focused on such a specific spot unless the whole staff is being built with a long view in mind. The real tension starts when you zoom out and look at the bigger coaching picture. If Seattle can convince a coach like Zach Orr to accept a role that sounds like a step down just to be part of this structure, what happens when another key voice is tempted in the other direction? Because on the offensive side, one of the architects of this title run is already sitting in a new chair in Las Vegas, and that move turns the next phase of the Seahawks offseason into a fight to keep their system together while the rest of the league tries to pull it apart. The Seattle Seahawks just watched a key piece of their Super Bowl brain trust walk out the door to become the head coach in Las Vegas, and that is where the real danger usually starts for a champion. When a play caller like Clint Kubiak packs his bags, it is never just one flight. It is a signal to other teams that this staff is open for business, that assistants can be tempted, that the system that carried Sam Darnold to the best stretch of his career might get chopped into pieces and copied around the league. That is how many title teams lose their edge, not on the field, but in quiet meetings where position coaches are offered new titles, new money, and a chance to leave with the guy who just got promoted. Inside Seattle, that move turned into an instant test of how serious they are about protecting their identity. Names like Jake Peetz, Andrew Janocko, Justin Outen, John Benton, and M. Brown are not trending on social media, but they are the people who helped build the rhythm that let Kenneth Walker close games and gave Jackson Smith-Njigba roots that felt like he was back torching defenses in college. If the wrong coach leaves or the wrong voice takes over the call sheet, you risk forcing Sam Darnold to relearn language, timing, and trust at the exact moment his confidence finally settled. The calm choice would be to promote the right person from inside. Keep the same core playbook, tweak it instead of tearing it up, and quietly let the rest of the league scramble while your quarterback and your skill players walk into camp already speaking the same football language. The twist is that staff decisions like this are tied directly to the faces fans actually wear on their backs. Coaches can protect a scheme, but contracts decide who gets to run it. Once you decide how to hold the structure of the offense together, the next question is simple and brutal. Which pillars of this roster do you lock up now? So this style of football has the same stars driving it for years. And which players do you risk losing to the market? That is where names like Kenneth Walker, Kobe Bryant, and Rick Woolen turn from fan favorites into massive offseason decisions, and where one wrong move can turn a fresh dynasty into a one-year memory. The easy story after a Super Bowl is that a system won it. The real truth in Seattle is that specific players carried the weight when the season got tight. And those are the names that now sit right in the middle of the front office whiteboard. At the top is Kenneth Walker, the back who turned long drives into a slow bleed for defenses and pushed the offense through stretches when nothing felt clean. When a player like that hits the market, you do not just risk losing yards. You risk losing the identity that made your quarterback comfortable and your play caller fearless on third and short. Letting that kind of tone setter drift into contract drama would send the exact wrong message to the locker room that just emptied the tank to bring a title to the city. Right behind him is the pair that helps define the back end of this defense, Kobe Bryant and Rick Woolen. Kobe Bryant just showed what happens when a smart safety is asked to be both a leader and a problem solver, holding things together when pieces around him like Julian Love and Devin Witherspoon miss time. Rick Woolen still looks like a glitch in real life, a corner with rare length and speed who already knows the language and spacing that Mike Macdonald wants from his secondary. Are there mistakes on tape? Sure, that comes with aggressive corners, but the cost of letting that kind of athletic ceiling leave the building is far higher than the cost of betting on his next 2 or 3 seasons inside a defense that now has a ring and a clear blueprint. You do not walk away from verified talent that already survived the deepest possible pressure test. What pulls all of this together is the timing. These are not emotional extensions just to say thank you. They are moves that keep the heartbeat of this roster in sync with the scheme the staff is trying to protect. Pay Kenneth Walker, and you tell the offense that the physical style that carried them in January is not going anywhere. You tell Zach Charbonnet that his partner is locked in, and you tell Sam Darnold that the run game that kept him clean is a priority. Lock in Kobe Bryant and Rick Woolen, and you tell the entire secondary that this is the core that will grow inside this system instead of being broken up by short-term thinking. And once those pillars are secure, the focus can shift to the next level of upgrades, the kind that do not just keep this team strong, but might turn a very good offense into something even more dangerous right at the line of scrimmage. There is one move that would instantly tell the whole league that the Seattle Seahawks are not just hoping to stay good, they are planning to lean even harder into their strength. That move is going after Tyler Linderbaum. A center like that does not just snap the ball. He controls the pocket, sets the protection, and lets your quarterback stand tall instead of surviving chaos. Put a proven star in the middle of this line, and suddenly, every run by Kenneth Walker looks a little cleaner, every dropback for Sam Darnold feels a little calmer, and every defensive coordinator on the schedule has to accept that the softest spot in this offense might not exist anymore. You are not just adding a name, you are changing the way the entire front works from the first play of the season. The ripple effect inside the building would be just as big. Slide Jalen Sundo from center to guard, and now he is not being replaced. He is being unleashed in a role that lets him fire off the ball and battle for a spot with guys like Anthony Bradford, Olu Oluwatimi, and the rest of the interior group. That kind of fight during camp raises the level of everyone in the room because nobody can coast when the guy next to them is trying to grab the same job. If Tyler Linderbaum walks into that locker room, every offensive lineman knows the standard just went up, not only in the middle, but at every spot to his left and right. The run game that got stronger late in the year could start strong from week 1, and the play-action game that punished teams in January could be the baseline instead of the surprise. Of course, there is a chance Baltimore finds a way to keep Tyler Linderbaum right, and that is where the Seahawks cannot afford to hesitate. A player like Connor McGovern becomes the type of smart backup plan that still fits the vision. A steady veteran who can handle calls and bring stability inside while the rest of the line keeps growing. Either way, the message is the same. Seattle is not satisfied with an offensive line that is good enough. They want a front that dictates terms. And once you see how hard they are willing to push for control on this side of the ball, the real question becomes obvious. If this is the standard on offense, how aggressive are they willing to be when it comes to loading up the pass rush on defense? The scary part with the Seattle Seahawks is that even after lifting the trophy, you can tell the defense is not satisfied with just being good enough. They already have a championship-level unit, yet every hint from inside the building points to one clear idea. Turn the pass, rush into something that tilts every game before the ball is even snapped. That is why the whispers about veteran edge help are not just background noise. They are the next layer of pressure on a league that already struggled to deal with Mike Macdonald when he had less talent than he has right now. You see that thinking in the type of names being tied to Seattle. A projected move for an edge, like Dante Jones, coming off a reset season with Tennessee and Baltimore, fits that classic Macdonald pattern of trusting proven veterans who still have juice but no longer carry superstar prices. Add in a possible target like Odafe Owe, a player who already knows what the style of defense demands on the edge. And you start to understand how calculated this is. These are not random swings. They are pieces who can slide into a front that already understands gap discipline and rush lanes, then turn third downs into stress tests for every offensive line on the schedule. None of it requires a full rebuild. It is just stacking one more problem on top of what quarterbacks already see when they look at this defense. Then there is the wild card that keeps getting brought up in Q&A sessions with fans, Max Crosby. If he ever truly becomes available, you know John Schneider has to at least pick up the phone. Bringing a star like Max Crosby into a room that already includes players such as Leonard Williams, DeMarcus Lawrence, Uchenna Nwosu, and Boy Mafe would change the entire mood of an offense before the opening drive is even called. It would cost real picks and real money, but that is the point. It would be a move that screams the future is right now. That this is not a short flash, it is an attempt to build something fans will talk about for the rest of their lives. And once you start thinking about it that way, you realize this run is already doing more than changing standings. It is changing what Seahawks football means to people, which is where the story turns from roster talk into something much more personal. The Seattle Seahawks just turned a football season into something that helped a family survive real life, and that is the part nobody sees on a box score. Buried in the comments was a message from a fan whose wife was fighting cancer. Long days in hospitals, long nights after chemo. And the one thing he kept looking forward to was the next Seahawks game and the possibility that this run might keep going. Week after week, that schedule became his escape. Then the playoff push added extra time, and suddenly, this title run gave him 2 full months of something brighter to hold on to. He wrote that he was saving up to finally buy an Ernest Jones jersey to mark the season, and the creator reading that message realized it should not be on that fan to carry the cost at a moment like this. So he decided that jersey would be a gift, a small thank you in the middle of something incredibly heavy. That is when you see how deep this thing has gone. A content creator who started as a neutral voice is now scrolling through pages of Seahawks gear, hunting down the right Ernest Jones Super Bowl uniform for a stranger he only knows through a username and a story. A team that was supposed to be rebuilding has turned into a reason to smile for people who badly need one. Players like Sam Darnold, Kenneth Walker, Devin Witherspoon, Kobe Bryant, Rick Woolen, and Julian Love are no longer just names on a depth chart. They are anchors in somebody else's week, symbols of fight and resilience, in a season where every win felt like proof that hard work and belief can flip a script. This is how a franchise moves from being a fun surprise to becoming part of people's lives in a way that stays, even when the final score fades. Inside the building, the front office knows that every new arrival now carries that same weight. When they stand on the clock at pick 32 and stare at a name like Akeem Messidor, a pass rusher from Miami who spent his college career overshadowed by a louder teammate but never stopped working, they are not just choosing another body for the rotation. They are picking the next story a fan might wear across their shoulders, the next player a family might gather around on cold Sundays when they need something to believe in. A hungry young defender stepping into a room filled with proven winners fits perfectly with what this era of Seahawks football has become. And if year one of this championship window already feels like this, the real question is simple. What happens to the league when that next wave of players walks out of the draft room and steps into a culture this strong?